Good afternoon. It's Sunday, April 3rd, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. The Prison Parole Board met this morning to discuss the fate of former President Moshe Katzav's request for parole. A ruling has been postponed until Wednesday. The Prisoner Rehabilitation Authority has reportedly notified the board that it was prepared to build a rehabilitation program for Katzav, but noted it hadn't withdrawn its demand that the former president express regret and admit guilt for his convictions of 2 counts of rape and other sexual offenses. Katzav, who has served approximately 2/3 of his sentence, has steadfastly refused to do this. If his request to shorten his sentence by 1/3 is accepted, Katzav will be released from jail at the end of the month. An autopsy was conducted this morning on the body of the disarmed Palestinian terrorist who was allegedly shot and killed by an IDF soldier in Hebron. Initial findings showed that the terrorist was alive prior to the soldier's shooting, just as other troops and the soldier himself have testified. The findings of the autopsy carry implications for the charges the soldier will face. Last week, the expected charge was downgraded from murder to manslaughter. A military court last Thursday released him from custody and ordered him to be confined to an army base. He was prohibited from carrying arms or speaking to any witnesses in the shooting incident. The military prosecutor's appeal of the ruling is scheduled for Tuesday. Following a relative quiet in terror attacks, there was a suspected stabbing this morning in Rosh Ha'ayin. A 23-year-old Israeli Arab woman from Kfar Qasim stabbed and lightly injured a woman in the arm. A security guard managed to subdue the Arab woman without firing any shots. Another knife was found in the assailant's bag, and police say that they suspect it was nationalistically motivated and have taken her in for questioning. The injured woman was evacuated to Beilinson Hospital for treatment. The initial questioning into alleged corruption charges against opposition leader Isaac Herzog of the Zionist Union continues. Reacting to speculated revelations, Herzog warned of the so-called ghost forces, which are disproportionately influencing politics. In a Facebook post written over the weekend, the opposition leader reiterated his willingness to fully cooperate with authorities. Herzog is suspected of financial wrongdoing relating to his campaign funding during Labour Party primaries in 2013 when he ran against former party head Shelley Yachimowicz. For her part, Yachimowicz said she was truly embarrassed by the developments and expressed hope that the probe would not take a heavy toll on her party. She said she prefers to refrain from elaborating on the issue out of concern that her comments could be interpreted as political opportunism. Meanwhile, another potential corruption case bearing grave political consequences is that of Interior Minister and Shas Party leader Aryeh Deri. The Attorney General has upgraded the preliminary police inquiry into Deri's allegations of wrongdoing to full criminal investigation. At this point, a gag order is still in effect regarding details of the suspicions against the Interior Minister, who in the late 1990s served time in jail over corruption charges. The charges this time around are apparently related to real estate belonging to Deri and his family. Joining us now in the studio is law professor Shimon Shitrit, a former Minister of Justice from Hebrew University. Professor, thank you for joining us. Let's begin with the former President Katzav and the parole board. He didn't show any remorse. What do you think will be the ramifications of this?
There is no legal express requirement for expressing remorse, but this requirement is one of the considerations. And if the parole board will put emphasis on this failure, apparently it will weigh heavily against allowing him to benefit from the reduction of the 1/3 of his term of imprisonment. But on the other hand, he has good behavior during his imprisonment, and from precedents, it is possible to give such a reduction without the remorse or without necessarily a program of rehabilitation for sex offenders. So we don't really know what will be the outcome, but the fact that it is so extended deliberation suggests that the pressures from outside of the victims, of the women organization, the various women organization, and the public discourse is having impact on the judge and the 2 professionals that sit in this panel the parole board that reviews this request of Katsav.
If he is released, what kind of message do you think this will send to women's organizations?
No message, in my opinion. No message. The law provides for the possibility of reduction of a third. He is a citizen, and he had good behavior. So the message is that the law was applied to him as was applied to many other people, and that's all. This is not a message. I mean, but the women organization said that this is a bad message, that it is not to be expected to release him before, but the law opens this opportunity. So if the law opens this opportunity, the rule of law should be for Katsav or for Rabinovich or for Rubinstein or for Buzaglo, as normally they say Buzaglo. I don't like it so much. That's why I mentioned it only at the end, so people know what I mean. That means in London they would say the men in the Clapham omnibus.
Let me ask you,
Or with us, number 5, bus number 5.
we just heard that the autopsy showed that the soldier, that the Palestinian that was killed had been killed by the shot that the soldier fired. What kind of implications do you think that will have?
That the murder is out and manslaughter is out also. Because this is kind of, the most it could be attempt, because the guy was dead already. So therefore he thought that he is under risk and danger because he had a explosion, belt explosion, or belt with explosives, but apparently he was wrong, and the fact is that he was dead already, and therefore it could be only attempt to kill if it is considered that he was not subjectively under danger, but subjectively he said, I was under danger.
Yes.
So that's up to the court to make the decision.
Let's ask you about a different topic. Last week, you were part of a delegation of Jews of Moroccan descent, Israelis of Moroccan descent.
Moroccans and Yemenites and Iraqi Jews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and you went to Ramallah and you met
Yes.
with PA Chairman Mahmoud Abbas. What was the purpose of that meeting?
The Palestinian Authority is trying to establish contact with various social circles in the Israeli public. And as part of this effort, in the last 6 months, there have been a number of meetings to conduct a dialogue between Israeli leadership and Palestinian leadership. In the previous dialogue that took place in Jerusalem, and one meeting also already with Chairman Abbas, the discussion was about creating what I call culture of peace. The culture of peace is created not only between governments, but between peoples. And our intention in these meetings, in this dialogue, to create a good atmosphere that is a platform for peace. And this is the aim, at least my side, when I participated in these dialogues. And for that purpose, I use my knowledge of Arabic.
And Jack, we're seeing you now on the TV speaking in Arabic to Mahmoud Abbas. What did you say to him?
Yeah, I told him that I am encouraged by the speech that he delivered, because he really talked about the joint culture or the shared culture, shared music, shared some heritage between Jews in Arab countries and Arab countries. And let's use that shared music, culture, etc. Let us use it as a platform to build on it in order to promote peace.
Do you think maybe this was an attempt by the PA chairman to circumvent direct negotiations by going straight to the Israeli people, maybe cause a schism?
Yeah, this is not practical, because we don't deal with politics in terms of what are the conditions to build the final or the permanent solution, what will be the borders, what will be the conditions for releasing prisoners, etc. This is not our authority. What our possibility is just to create good atmosphere for peace. And therefore, if he tried to do that, I don't think so. That was not a practical aim for him because it's not our authority.
Professor Shimon Shitrit, always a pleasure to have you on IBA News. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Germany's intelligence agencies have been spying on Israel in recent years. This according to a report in the German newspaper Der Spiegel, which said Berlin's intelligence service, the BND, closely monitored Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's bureau. The report noted that the agency spied for years on targets of friendly European countries and NATO states until the head of the agency ordered a stop to the practice about 2 years ago. According to the paper, other entities that were wiretapped included the U.S. State Department, the U.S. Air Force, and the American Space Agency, NASA. There were no further details on the alleged information collected from Israel or when the reported espionage took place. The United States has expressed concern over Israel's policy of Palestinian house demolitions in East Jerusalem and the West Bank. Referring to the destruction of homes which Israel claims were built without permission, a State Department spokeswoman said the practice calls into question the Jewish state's commitment to a two-state solution.
We are concerned about the demolitions undertaken by Israeli authorities that continue throughout the West Bank and East Jerusalem. These actions are indicative of a damaging trend of demolition, displacement, and land confiscation, and alongside settlement-related activity and continued construction undermine the possibility of a two-state solution. They also call into question the Israeli government's commitment to that two-state solution.
Staying in the U.S., where world leaders praised efforts to promote nuclear security following this weekend's nuclear summit in Washington. However, the group cautioned that the threat of terrorists who seek to steal bombs remains imminent. U.S. President Barack Obama urged world leaders to do more to safeguard vulnerable nuclear facilities to prevent global terrorist groups such as Islamic State from getting their hands on atomic weapons. Obama warned that should this technology fall into the wrong hands, it could change the world.
Fortunately, because of our efforts so far, no terrorist group has yet succeeded in obtaining a nuclear device or producing a dirty bomb using radioactive materials. But we know that Al-Qaeda has tried. ISIL's already used chemical weapons in Syria and Iraq. And if they ever got hold of a nuclear weapon or nuclear material, we have no doubt they'd use it.
The U.S. president also touched upon the issue of Iran, saying that if Tehran wants to reap the commercial benefits of signing the nuclear deal, it must change the political climate to make prospective business comfortable about investing there. Obama made the specific mention of Iran's threat to Israel as a condition for not keeping its end of the deal.
Iran so far has followed the letter of the agreement. But the spirit of the agreement involves Iran also sending signals to the world community and businesses that it is not going to be engaging in a range of provocative actions that might scare business off. When they launch ballistic missiles with slogans calling for the destruction of Israel, that makes businesses nervous. There is some geopolitical risk that is heightened when they see that taking place. If Iran continues to ship missiles to Hezbollah, that gets businesses nervous.
It was a deadly weekend on the country's roads. 5 people were killed in separate traffic accidents. Earlier this morning, a motorcyclist was killed after being hit by a vehicle on road number 4 next to Pardesia. Saturday, a young 26-year-old was killed when his motorbike flipped near Beit Shemesh. In the Negev, near Segev Shalom Junction, a 35-year-old man was killed when his car hit a pole. On Friday, a 6-year-old boy was killed in a crash in the Emek Hefer region when the car he was traveling in struck a tree. And a 40-year-old man died when his car overturned several times on Highway 6 near Kiryat Gat. Since the beginning of the year, there have been 79 fatalities on the country's roads. National Insurance Institute offices were closed across the country today until further notice. Workers will be in the branches but will not receive the public or answer telephone calls. The strike is in protest of the decision by police to remove uniform officers from National Insurance Institute offices. Members of the Bureau's National Labor Committee say that all of their appeals to the management, the Histadrut, the Prime Minister, the Social Welfare Minister, and the Police Commissioner failed. Employees of the NII claim their work demands police presence since they continuously face assault from disgruntled citizens. The police disagree and say that security guards deployed at the branches can provide an adequate solution. Some 1,000 cyclists, including 250 disabled veterans, took part in the 10th annual Wheels in Motion bike rally in the Eshkol Regional Council yesterday. The head of the Regional Council, Gadi Yarkoni, said it was the residents' way of saying thank you to the sacrifices made by the veterans. Some of the veterans use hand-powered bikes for the disabled. It's Sunday, and as we get off to a new week, here are 5 good stories that may put a smile on your face and may make you feel a little bit proud. Mexico will begin the sale of Israeli drug for prostate cancer that was developed by the Weizmann Institute. The drug was approved by Mexico earlier this year. An Arab woman from Dubai who gave birth at a crossing into Israel has named her newborn son after the Druze IDF officer who saved the day and delivered her baby. Israel's national rhythmic gymnastics team is continuing its winning streak. The blue and white team won a bronze medal in the all-around final at the Pesaro World Cup event in Italy over the weekend. This just 1 week after the team won another gold medal, finishing first place in the ribbons final at the Thias Grand Prix in France. Staying with the athletics theme, an Israeli windsurfer Shachar Tsubari secured his place at the upcoming Olympics in Rio this summer. Tsubari earned his ticket to Rio after defeating rival Nimrod Mashiach in the battle for Israel's one and only berth in the men's windsurfing competition. Israel's House of Parliament, the Knesset, dressed up in blue to mark the World Autism Day. The legislative building was illuminated as part of the International Light It Up Blue campaign. Taking a look at the local finance, and with no currency trading on Sundays, the shekel remains the same, while share prices on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange were mixed in trading. Here's a look at the mid-afternoon numbers. Turning to the weather, and the forecast is for a slight drop in temperatures along the coast, but it will continue to be unseasonably warm, particularly in the center and the mountainous regions of the country. Here's a look at the expected highs and lows at home and abroad for the next 24 hours. That's our broadcast of IBA News for today. Please join us again tomorrow when I'll be back at this desk to bring you the latest breaking news from Israel. I'm Aryeh O'Sullivan, wishing you a good evening. Shalom from Jerusalem. And we leave you now with visuals of Israelis who took advantage of the beautiful warm weather this weekend, paying a visit to the nation's beaches.